Her old friend had come home, Sula, who made her laugh, who made her see old things with new eyes, in whose presence she felt clever, gentle, and a little raunchy. Sula, whose past she had lived through, and with whom the present was a constant sharing of perceptions. Talking to Sula had always been a conversation with herself. Hi, my name is Madeline Bishop, and welcome to our book talk on Sula by Toni Morrison. Nell and Sula are best friends. They meet as young girls, and they find in each other a kindred spirit with which they can share their loneliness and their imagination. They're separated in young adulthood, and when they meet again as adults, it's clear that Nell has chosen a life of acceptance and accommodation, while Sula has to fight to defend her seemingly unconventional choices and beliefs. The girls are brought together and pushed apart in a community built from unhappy people, and readers get a glimpse into their lives as they search for what they're looking for, trying to figure out who they are with and without the other one. So this book was recommended to me as YA, and reviews suggest that it is a great book to read with young adults, but in reading it, it is not actually YA fiction. And I say this because though it does focus on the friendship of young girls and it's built around that story, it only fits the YA genre for about a third of the book because we get the history of their community before they're around, and then we get a lot of their story after they're adults in part 2 of the book. So the Lexile information, the score is a 1050L, which places it at a 9th grade reading level, and I really wouldn't recommend it for students any younger than that for the following reasons. The narrative structure, which is the first mentor text feature I'd like to talk about, is quite complicated. It is written in free and direct discourse, meaning that it is third-person narration that jumps in and out of different characters' consciousnesses. Sometimes it's completely third person, sometimes you're in Nell's mind or Sula's mind or the mind of another character. And it can be kind of difficult sometimes to realize when those shifts happen and which person's mind you're in. So that can be used, I think, as a way to get students working with perspective and tracking when shifts happen in those ways and whose mind they're in, which would definitely benefit them in terms of understanding the book. So I think that it would be a really great choice to use as a whole class text with maybe excerpts, or just very scaffolded with background information and, you know, what free and direct discourse is and how to go about reading it so that they know going in that they're going to need to be tracking things and figuring out who they're hearing from at a particular time, because there will be moments when a certain story is retold and details will be different. You're hearing it from another point of view. Another mentor text feature I think that can be a great tool but also a challenge is the vivid imagery and figurative language. This is used as a way to characterize and set scenes. So, for example, on page 58, there's a scene, it says, "They lay in the grass, their foreheads almost touching, their bodies stretched away from each other at a 180-degree angle. Sula's head rested on her arm, an undone braid coiled around her wrist. Nell leaned on her elbows and worried long blades of grass with her fingers. Underneath their dresses, flesh tightened and shivered in the high coolness, their small breasts just now beginning to create some pleasant discomfort when they were lying on their stomachs." So this is setting the scene but right before a very important event in Sula and Nell's lives when they are young girls. And instances like that occur throughout, not only with setting and with characterization, but also with making intangible feelings and emotions tangible in ways that students may not have encountered before. So this can be a very interesting way to teach figurative language, as well as with the narrative structure to teach making predictions as you start a chapter and the chapter title says 1929, so you think we're in 1929, but the narration may start off in the memory of a character that's actually 10 years before, and so it's important to be able to recognize those things as you're reading. So I absolutely loved this book. I would recommend it for older or higher level or more mature readers, as there are themes within the structure of betrayal and sex and murder that might be a little bit heavy for readers who have not encountered that kind of content before. But it is a wonderful book, and I recommend that everyone read it at some point in their lives. But with students, I think older ones probably a better fit. So thank you for listening to my book talk. I hope that you enjoy Sula, and I hope that you have fun teaching it with your students.